Welcome back to the We Market Mass YouTube channel. My name is Eli Rubin. I'm the co-founder of We Market Mass, and I've been doing digital marketing for the better part of 10 years now. Now, before I go and talk about other agencies, I want you guys to know that I don't generally talk down on other companies. You will not hear me mention a company by name in this video, and ultimately it's up to you, the business owner, to decide whether or not the agency that you're currently working with, if you're working with one, or the agency that you're potentially working with actually falls into these categories. But I have done sales calls for roughly the past 4 years now for my own business, and I've seen a lot of stuff, which is why I'm coming on here to make this video so that hopefully you're vetting someone and you're not already stuck in a trap, but you don't fall into the trap of a predatory agency. Now, why do predatory agencies exist? The reality is there's a lot of people out there who can't afford a regular agency retainer, and that's understandable, right? Especially if you're just starting out in your business, you're looking for that low ticket cost. The problem with these is they'll offer the low ticket cost, but you'll really get stuck with them. And I have basically 10 ways of you figuring out if it's a red flag to work with that agency or not. But you're probably asking, how am I qualified to know this? Well, across my career, I've managed roughly $75 million in just paid ad spend. That doesn't count the websites I've built, SEO stuff I've done. We pride ourselves at We Market Mass on transparency and visibility, and also giving you results that you can actually understand and feel. And as a result of that, like I said, I've had a lot of sales calls with people that I've seen either stuck with or comparing us against other agencies that potentially have a lower price point, because we definitely aren't the cheapest. We're definitely not the most expensive either, but potentially have a lower price point, but have some of these predatory habits. So with that said, I'm gonna jump into the 10 red flags that you should look for, ideally when you're vetting an agency, and hopefully you haven't already hired them. I got a list down here of the 10 things that I wrote out. The number one red flag and the biggest thing that you should be like, whoa, hold on a second, is if you don't own your domain, which is www.yourbusiness.com, your actual website, which is being hosted on the domain, as in, you're paying monthly for the website, but if you stop paying, they would take the website down, or ownership of your Google business profile. You need to be the primary owner of your Google business profile. And of those three, obviously the domain is really important, the website's really important, but if you're not the primary owner of your Google business profile, you are at Google's will, or at the agency's will. And if you duplicate that business profile and start your own later on, you can actually get flagged by Google for a duplicate business, and then nobody does well. So if nothing else, if they're claiming that they're gonna create your Google business profile for you, that is the biggest red flag, and you should never move forward with an agency that's going to do that. Along with that, if the agency says they're gonna buy the www.xyandz.com for you and they'll own it, that is also a big red flag, because guess what? When you stop working with them, let's say you had it on the side of your truck, www.business.com, you decide to stop paying that agency, they own that domain, they can forward it to whatever they want. They could even forward it to a competitor's website, and then your truck says a website that if someone goes to someone else. So that's the biggest red flag that I see. Also, when it comes to the website being owned by them, again, you stop paying them, suddenly you have no website, and then you have to go through the process of building a new website with someone else, which takes, weeks or months, because you have to vet, etc. And really, ultimately what happens out of that is you end up with an asset that was kind of yours because you bought in at the low ticket price point that they offered. I see a lot of people right around $300 a month. That's the magic number, somewhere between $290 to $300, that just basically rent their website, and they're stuck renting their website forever because there's nothing they can do. And guess what? You can't even hire an external SEO agency to come in and optimize that website, because that agency, the original agency that's hosting the website, owns it outright. So that's the biggest red flag. There's more that I have here, and I'll talk to you about that. But if you don't own your business profile, your www.business.com, or your website itself, like the design of it, you may want to revisit your current relationship and make sure that things are set up so that you can own them, or you can buy them out, or something like that. Number two, to go along with that, they avoid answering where your site is hosted. You should be and totally understand where your website is hosted. All of our stuff is hosted on SiteGround. It is basically the industry standard for fast delivery. And again, if you're doing something like SEO, or even if you just want a good customer experience, a fast website is super important. If they can't tell you where the website is being hosted, they're probably hosting it somewhere cheap that may not get you the best results. Number three on my list, reports that they give you focus on traffic. What else do I have here? Impressions, or quote unquote visibility, instead of actual metrics that show you like heat maps of how your business is ranking and the number of calls that they've got in your business. I had a client that we actually brought on board in our business who was getting a report from his previous business that said he, 50,000 impressions in a month, 6,000 website visitors, this and that, and they said that he was getting 258 leads a month. I said to him, is your phone ringing 258 times a month? He goes, no. I said, are you getting emails 258 times a month? He goes, no. I was like, is there any sort of customer input that adds up to 258 new customers a month? He said, no. I said to him, then why are you letting the agency tell you that you got a random number of leads? You should have a transparent relationship with your agency where they can report back exactly which lead is who, with phone numbers and with contact information if they came in through a lead form, which leads me to my next point, which is that all agencies that you're working with, if they don't set up call tracking or if they don't set up lead tracking, they don't know what they're doing for your business. So you need to make sure that if you're working with someone and they're promising that they're going to grow the number of leads for your business, that they understand so that you can understand the actual number of leads that your business is driving every month. Because if the agency doesn't know what's actually happening on the phone, how are they supposed to tell you they're doing better or worse than the prior month? And more importantly, how are they supposed to continuously optimize to get better results if they don't even know what the results are? Number 5 is one of my favorites. They promised, what did I write here? They promised fast results and guaranteed rankings. Now we have a guaranteed ranking package. So I don't want to say that everybody who promises guaranteed rankings is bad, but I'm sure you see the ads across Facebook that says, we'll get you on first page of Google in 14 days, or hey, we'll get you here and we guarantee it, or we'll give you $500 or something like that. You need to watch out because those people, again, they're basically predators, and they're looking for the people that have been scammed in the past or burned in the past that are looking for some sort of guarantee. They get you locked into a contract. They deliver on something in some sort of way that maybe might not be the most sustainable way. And then you're stuck paying them because they, basically got to the point that they got you to by some sort of, again, unsustainable method. So those are really important to vet and ask questions about, and then it's ultimately your decision. Again, I have a guaranteed SEO package. We have a package where we guarantee 100 keywords on page 1 of Google before we send you a monthly fee. And that's very legit. I have results that I can show you, but if they can, if they're just talking, hey, we're going to give you, a $500 refund if we can't do this or we can't do that, you need to ask them for actual examples of times they've done it in the past so that they can show you and you can understand if that guarantee is real or if there's some sort of messy fine print that you're missing. Ours, no fine print. 100 keywords, you get a monthly bill. If we don't get 100 keywords, you don't get a monthly bill. Number 6 is an interesting one for me. Let's say your buddy came over and he asked, hey, what is your marketing agency doing for you? If you can't explain what they're doing for you, it's probably a red flag that you're working with the wrong agency. Now, this is a big thing that I pride myself on, but also we market mass on, because our main goal is to make it so that you can actually understand what we're doing on a monthly basis. My month-end reporting goes out on a monthly basis, that's why it's month-end, with the first 5 slides in plain English. How many calls you got, the heat maps showing movement of your business, how many leads you got, and ultimately how many pages you have ranking on page 1 of Google. Then we get into the more technical stuff, that kind of deal. But my goal is, if you, the business owner, were to go to one of your buddies and he came over and said, hey, what's that marketing agency doing for you? You could pull up the report and say, hey, look at this. 43 phone calls, 23 leads, I got 52 pages on page 1 of Google, and look at how I've advanced in the heat maps month over month. If you can't do that, or you can't explain to someone what your marketing agency is doing for you in 60 seconds or less, you're probably working with someone that either hasn't explained it to you or is so convoluted in their methods that it's unclear the impact that they're actually having. Number 7 is a big one. Everything for them is proprietary or behind the scenes, meaning like, hey, can we edit this? Can we update that? Can you show me how I can make changes to this? If everything is locked away from you, it's probably for a reason, right? It's because they don't want you to have access, because if you're able to make changes, then they can't kind of hold it over you as they're the big bosses and you have to pay them monthly to do it. So you need to be careful with, proprietary and behind the scenes. Again, even we have a proprietary plugin that we've built for WordPress. So I don't want to say proprietary is bad, but these companies need to make sure that they're explaining exactly what's what to you. And if they can't explain what it's doing or why it's doing because it's a big black box secret, that would be a red flag to me, because they're either outsourcing it to someone else or they don't actually know what they're doing, which would be a bigger concern. Number 8 and 9 are kind of related. Number 8, I have written, there's no clear service area strategy. Now, this is a big one. Again, we're in Massachusetts. I know the Massachusetts market really well because I'm from here. A lot of people who would come in here, and you've heard me talk about this in previous videos, might just target the entire state of Massachusetts for like plumbers or electricians or something like that. They don't realize that it's a 3-hour drive from the west part of Massachusetts to the eastern part of Massachusetts, and no plumber is going to make a service call from the Boston area out to Springfield. It's just not going to happen. So if they don't have a dedicated service area strategy, for example, if they don't know the county that you're in or the towns that surround you, how are they supposed to put together a dedicated strategy? And I mean, not to make it sound easy, because it's definitely not the easiest thing to put a strategy together, but we're in a world of AI. Like, they could at least say, hey, this business is in Woburn, name 10 surrounding towns of Woburn before my sales call. It's not that hard to come up with. And then you can use that to, create your service area strategy that ultimately helps you build an SEO program for that client. So if they can't define their service area strategy for you, or they don't understand your service area, I think that's just unexcusable. Number 9 is the same strategy for every business that they work with. This is my big concern with those, guaranteed 100 leads in the first 30 days, or we'll guarantee 600 phone calls in the first 30 days or something like that. They've figured out a way to drive phone calls to a business. That doesn't necessarily mean they figured out a way for your business to make money off of those phone calls, and that concerns me. Every package that we build is custom tailored to each business and each niche, and our goal of everything that we do is to find those high ticket items for your business. Now, that separates us from the people that are just driving leads, because I'd much rather have the phone ring 3 times and have it be, let's say you're a paver, 3 driveway replacements, than have the phone ring 100 times for people who are just tire kicking about prices because they saw a Facebook ad and they decided to call. So you want to make sure that they're able to put together a dedicated strategy for your business. And there may be areas that are similar to other businesses, but an important question to ask on the sales call is, how does this strategy differentiate, or what is different from this strategy versus another client down the street? Additionally, kind of a bonus point here before we get into the last point, you want to ask them how many clients they're taking in a certain area. We only take 1 client in one industry per 20-mile radius. And the reason for that is I don't want to compete against myself. I don't want to get 2 people mediocre results instead of 1 person really good results. But if they're working with you and also working with your buddy down the road and your other buddy down the road, you guys all have the same looking website and the same SEO strategy, no one is going to win. So an important question to ask there, kind of a bonus point. The last one for me, number 10, you're locked into a long contract with no asset ownership at the end of the contract. Now, what we do is we basically subsidize our page build costs over a certain period of time. And so we ask for a contract in order to gain ownership of the additional pages that we're building on a website if we were to do an SEO engagement. The difference between that and what I see a lot of people locking in is they lock in a 12-month contract at $300 a month. At the end of the month, they've paid $3,600 for a website, which, you could probably get a half-decent website built for $3,600. And instead, they've just paid this company for 12 months. And if they want to keep their website, well, they got to renew for another 12 months. You want to make sure there's always asset ownership at the end of every contract. That's 10 ways or 10 red flags if you're hiring the wrong agency or you're working with the wrong agency. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Looking forward to giving you more insight, more knowledge, and having a super profitable 2026. Thanks for the time, and we'll talk soon.